marketing.
Oh, there we go.
And we're on.
We're super live.
We're super live. Welcome to our daily, kind of podcast. My name's David Fankhauser. You may know me as DFank. Sometimes you'll know me as DFank_BU. That's Matt Wilson. Say hi, Matt.
It is Matt Wilson. I hate it when you use my last name because there are people out there that might be angry with me. And so if I hide behind the the imaginary moniker of Isbear, then I'm much safer online. Right, David?
Yeah, well, lucky for you, there's no other Matt Wilsons in the world. So it'd be real easy to find you.
It's very true. That is true. David, what's going on, man? It's been a minute since we've been on together, at least. You and Peter did a fantastic podcast, like right after the bowl game, and I think right before conference play really got into it. How you been? You been good?
I've been good, man. Lots going on, but all good things.
Good.
All good things.
I'm still in Austin, and it's still interesting to interact with people wearing burnt orange every day. I gotta say.
How do they feel about their basketball team down there?
What? Oh, they don't have a basketball team down here. Like they have completely. So I actually do listen to sports radio, like on my drive in the morning. And they want to talk about literally anything else than the men's basketball team. They will talk about. They'll talk about.
Austin have like a D League team.
The Toros, I think they do, or they
sure,
at least used to. But they'll talk about the most minute NFL news. They spent 30 minutes on Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks just to avoid talking about their men's basketball team, and it's got to be one of the funnier things that I get to experience every morning.
We got to give a shout out for just kind of rolling through Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I nailed it.
Kind of unfiltered, and you nailed it.
He's like one of my favorite players. I could go on for a long time about him.
He's kind of, those kind of people don't just grow on trees. Not that he did either, but
right, exactly.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a freak.
He is. There has been a much better basketball team to talk about, just up 35 a bit.
Yes, there has. That'd be your Baylor Bears, actually.
This is where I really wish I had a good John Morris impersonation, because your Baylor Bears. You see, I can't even do it, but it's just iconic. Sorry, go ahead.
And the best part about that is if you ever talk to John Morris in real life, no, that's what he actually sounds like in real life. That's not his radio broadcasting voice. That's actually his voice, and it's kind of awesome.
It's not a switch that he turns on and off. Like that's it.
Oh no.
Oh, that's
like if you ever hear Brent Musburger do an interview when he's not calling a game, he sounds like almost a completely different guy.
Yeah.
But J-Mo, no, that's J-Mo. That's definitely J-Mo. Bringing the Ned Flanders to the broadcast booth and doing a fine job of it. But he's J-Mo, and we love him.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let's talk about this team.
Man,
lots of things have happened.
Are we 19-1 now? I say we, and I'm just gonna go ahead and turn into the skid. Like I'm gonna say we, like I'm part of the team. It's just gonna happen. I'm sorry. I will try to do that not so much on other podcasts, but on this one I feel comfortable. So I'm gonna say we, and we are. What are we? 19-1. 19-1.
19-1. You know when the last time Baylor was 19-1?
When was that?
That was never.
Oh, you actually threw me on that one. I was not expecting that.
We've never been 19-1. We've been 18-2, but we haven't been 19-1.
Do you know what 19-1 also means?
Enlighten me.
We are first place in the Big 12.
Sort of.
Hey, it's
like
legitimate.
There's nobody in front of us.
What David's trying to mean is that we have one less loss than Kansas. We both have the same conference record, but overall we have one less loss, which is fair. That's fine. But this is like a really, I can't really stress how unexpected this was, at least for me. But this has also just been really, really fun. I don't know what your general attitudes or emotions are towards this team, but I'm scared a little bit because I don't know what my emotions should be, and I'll dive into that a little bit more. But I'm curious, what are your general emotions about this?
I mean, I feel like I'm having more fun talking about it when the games aren't going on because there's been a lot of close games lately, and heartburn is
Man, you
setting in
guys,
once every like 3 days or so. But
you guys worry so much. You and just all of just general Baylor Twitter just worry so much throughout the entire game. I don't get it. Am I the only obnoxiously positive person in the Baylor fandom?
I find myself pretty positive. But man, I mean, like we're playing 4-point game here, 2-point game there. It's that. It's not that we're like struggling or anything. We're playing a really good schedule. It's just
Yeah.
every game is close.
And we are. I think John Rothstein noted college basketball Twitterer, and I think I copied his tweet pretty much and said that in the last in all of the games that have been decided in less than 5 points, Baylor's 4-0. So like we have experience in close games and we won all of them. I doubt that luck runs the entire season, but
Probably not.
This team has extreme poise when it comes down to the end of the game. So you want to kind of jump into some of these games that we've done?
I think
let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. Let's go back to what happened in Morgantown because
we have to?
We don't have to do it a lot, but we should note that game exposed, and I won't expose sounds really harsh, but it showed that there are some cracks in this Baylor team, and I'm curious what you think about that.
I watched that game and just kind of threw it out at the end because that game really, although the score itself was close-ish, like through the first media timeout of the second half, that game never felt close.
No. It was. I hate using the word domination, but it was a very decisive win for West Virginia, and I think
it was a pretty good beatdown.
Yeah, and I think it should be said that this wasn't a bad West Virginia team. This is a legitimate, legitimate top 10 West Virginia team. So it's not a shame to lose to this team. I'm kind of worried about ball handling with this Baylor team. I think some of that was kind of exploited against the press. Not that you should be doing a whole bunch of dribbling against the press, but I was curious because this is the first time you and I have even talked casually about this Baylor team since about then. So, like, are you worried about ball handling and the point guard position on this team?
I feel like there was definitely some concerns that came out of that game. I do feel like there's been some adjustments since then. I know we've seen more Jake Lindsey as primary ball handler and Manu playing off of him as a two a little bit more since that game. I don't know if that was a direct reflection of that game or the fact that Manu's been struggling with his shot a little bit. I mean, honestly, Chuck Mitchell was our best guard in that game.
He really was. I'm really excited for year 2, Chuck.
And without him, we might have gotten beat by 40. But I chalked that one up to a bad night because
sure.
Because I think the pieces are in place there to be able to handle that in a much better way than what they were able to do that night. This is not a team that is just awful at turning the ball over in general. I think the most turnovers we had in a game all season before that game was like 15. So that's double what we had done for any game at that point in the season. I think like 16 of those came in the first 10 minutes or something crazy. So, I mean, I kind of chalked that up to bad night handling the ball, got on the road, hostile environment, lots of pressure being number one for the first time. And West Virginia shot the ball really well that night, and that's not something that they just typically do.
And that's the difference between West Virginia teams of the last couple of years and this one is that they have a legitimate offense this season. So
they just blew Kansas out of the water up there 2 nights ago. So that Baylor's definitely not the only team that's going to get beaten up there, even though it was really random that Oklahoma won there.
Yeah, it really was. That's enough about West Virginia. I think that
that sums it up.
Yeah, I think we can move on. And the cool thing is that the team bounced back with a great win against Kansas State in Manhattan, which is not easy to do. I don't care what their record is. They're now a ranked team. So beating a ranked team at home, especially at Bramlage, is extremely impressive.
Would you like a list of the teams that aren't named Baylor that have won at Bramlage this year?
This year only?
This year only.
Well, Kansas hasn't played there yet, so I'm going to say none.
You'd be correct.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. This team
and
is really
that includes West Virginia.
That's right.
So, I thought that was very encouraging, and that's kind of the one game over these last 3 weeks or so that the offense really stepped up in a big way. We got a big game out of Ish Wainwright in that game. Al Freeman played well that game, and it gives you a glimpse of just kind of what this team can do if all the pieces are clicking offensively. And so that one for me was really exciting just based on the fact that they were coming off of a loss and a game where a lot of people were doubting them. And I think past Baylor teams you might have had one loss kind of roll into two there, and it would have made perfect sense for that to happen. But
which is not uncommon in college basketball.
Oh no. Yes.
So is senior leader Ish Wainwright the new Rico Gathers could play football? It's getting close. It's getting real close. Glue guy Ish Wainwright, senior leader Ish Wainwright. Yeah, it's getting real close.
Yeah, definitely glue guy, first team All-Star.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. I love everything about his game. We can talk more about individual players later, but super excited. So we go win in Manhattan, and then we come back home. We beat a team that we should beat in Texas.
Motley goes nuts.
Motley goes absolutely bonkers. Was that his like 30-point game or 28-point game? Yeah, I don't know. It was stupid.
32 and 20.
It was stupid. And the anecdote from that game. Sorry, the anecdote from that game is that they were going to pull Motley out. The coaching staff was going to pull Motley out, but the players wanted to keep him in so that he could pad his stats a little bit. And against Texas, I'm all for it. Like 100% on board with that.
Yeah, if we can, if this team has aspirations of Big 12 championship, Final Four, maybe even more than that, we need that Motley.
Yeah, he's there. It's just a matter of unlocking him, or maybe somebody needs to just really get in his head and make him mad before a game or something. If we can,
because dude, he played pissed off that night, and I loved it so much.
It was so great. And then, going on the road again in the Big 12 is not easy, and this is a scrappy TCU team that the Bears had to play after that 10-point win there or 9-point win there, but.
That TCU team's going to be good in a couple years too.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're already pretty good.
I'm terrified of Jamie Dixon. I was terrified the moment he was announced as the new coach for TCU. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Really scared of what they're going to be. Glad we got the win here.
Can I be a little honest that I'm thinking that there's maybe a little bit of honeymoon phase there, and that. There's certainly ingredients there for Jamie Dixon to be really good at TCU, really good. I'm not quite buying. I'm not quite buying they're on that trajectory quite yet.
I can do 30 minutes on Jamie Dixon right now if you'd like me to. Look, I
would like to have at least like 3 listeners to this podcast.
That's so okay. All right, sounds good. And then. Went on the road. I'm sorry. No, we came back home for Texas Tech, right? Which was just a couple nights ago. At the time of that you'll be listening to this, but you want to jump into that game a little bit. Speaking of heartburn, I think that's where people felt the most.
Yeah, that's the game where we couldn't do the buckets.
Not so much. So the start of the game showed me exactly what I wanted to see in terms of, yes, this team can make a deep run into March. And then after about 6 minutes of that, of showing that to me, there were about 15 minutes of not showing that to me.
Yep. No, and what I was hoping to see was, I mean, obviously the start was great. Offense was in a really nice rhythm at the start of the game. And Tech was coming off a 20-point home loss to Oklahoma State. And I really felt like there was an opportunity there for us to just punch them in the mouth and put them away in the first half.
Right.
And some of it was just a matter of Shootyhoops luck. Tech hit some kind of silly jump shots, like banking in a 3 from the wing, which, yeah, he didn't call that. And I just felt like we had a few shots go in and out. Motley missed a point blank layup. It just, some of it was execution, some of it was just kind of plain dumb luck. But we let Tech get confidence from that and get right back in the game. And kind of from there on, it was a knockdown, drag out brawl of a game almost. There was a lot of time spent shooting free throws. Thankfully, Baylor shot the ball really well from the foul line, Motley in particular.
He only missed one. He's normally like a 60 or 70%.
Yeah, he got in a good groove from the line last night. And when this team had to make things happen defensively, they made it happen. We've seen it happen in a number of different games, and it's in a couple of different games now come down to the final possession of the other team's best player, best ball handler, best scorer trying to score on Ish Wainwright. And Ish said, hell no to that.
Yeah. So just taking this game and looking at it and kind of taking the main themes from this game and stretching them across the season, it really matches up perfectly. So a couple things that I pulled from this game and really the whole season. There's a period of time for every basketball team where you just go cold for a minute or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the most elite teams, it doesn't affect them at all. They can get right back on track with no delay. So you have a team, some of the best college basketball teams in history that will, miss a couple shots, but then get right back to it. So this Baylor team, I've noticed they will miss shots for, 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then they'll get a little tight. You can just see it in the way the offense is run. You'll see it maybe in a slight hesitation to make a decision. And they just tighten up a little bit, which, is understandable. It happens, especially, in a close game that you're up a bunch and then the lead diminishes. You just get a little bit tight. The thing that, and we've had past Baylor teams that do the same thing. And
oh, yeah.
So this isn't like
the team 2 years ago, it was like they got up 15-3 every game. Right. And then we're just like, would you like to walk right through this door and have yourself a close basketball game?
Right. And it starts that way. And then you try to flip that switch again and you just can't flip it. So, but the cool thing about this team is though, that the defense, and we can talk about how amazing this defense is. This defense is so good, you can survive for much longer without hitting a shot. So in the first half, we literally went how long without a field goal? Like way too, like almost 10 minutes,
almost 11 minutes.
Yeah, so like almost a quarter of the game without hitting a field goal. That's insane. That would sink normally any other team in the country. But the defense, this top 10 defense in the nation, is so good and so disruptive that you were able to hang on. And actually, I think we had the lead going into the half, right?
Yeah, I think we were up 1 at half.
So that's incredible. The other part of this is that either I don't know what the cause is, but it always seems to come back. At some point, it always comes back. Maybe it's a concerted effort to get Motley the ball where he likes the ball. And maybe he hits, 3 out of 4 shots to start the second half like he did against Tech. So this team has, and that's a quality. That's a very important quality, to be able to pull yourself out of that rut. Not every team has that. And this team does. And I think it does start with that defense. And I'm trying to put together a nice comprehensive look at what this defense is and how it works and what the goals are. So I'm really excited to share this with people because this defense is special. It shouldn't be taken for granted.
Yeah. Can I give a little bit of the further that we get into this season and the way that our efficiency numbers are lining up offensively and defensively and tempo wise, we've kind of turned into Virginia.
I think that's a stretch. I think that
No,
And, you're
and
speaking
that's
of the
not a
Virginia teams that are typically extremely disciplined and very good on defense and just kind of stagnant on
I
offense, and they
I didn't
create
I didn't
things.
I didn't mean that from a purely stylistic standpoint. But
Well, I was
just in
insulted.
term just in terms just in terms of the way that our defense allows us, I guess, a bit more wiggle room to figure things out offensively and allows us to get through 11 minutes without making a basket and not have it just sink the whole rest of the night. And you know, we're we're still a top 25 offensive efficiency team. But we score in the 60s and 70s most nights, and that's okay. We keep winning games. It's working for us.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think I'm still mad
That,
about the
that,
Virginia
that
comparison,
wasn't meant to be that wasn't meant to be a we are Virginia, because hell no. But um, I mean, like if we had to be something like that, I'd take 2 years ago Wisconsin, but they were pretty good. But we're nowhere near wide enough for that.
So the other thing that I really want to call attention to, and I did not coin this term, somebody else did. I can't remember who, but the Scott Drew timeout of death is definitely a real thing now.
Where did that come from?
Um,
I feel like I feel like this became a thing. Like I noticed that this was the thing like 2 games ago.
No, it was before that. It just wasn't very loud. But to explain, like either I can't remember if it's the last immediate timeout or if it's just a timeout that's normally taken with two or 3 minutes left in the game. But like you've said, we found ourselves in a lot of close games, and there's usually a timeout out of the 2 or 3 minute range, left in the game. And the one thing that nobody has ever been able to combat is that Scott Drew is amazing creating things out of a timeout. And I swear, most of the time it's the same kind of lob play out of the side line. It's a lob play to Motley, but I got to say, the team comes out with a brand new focus and always finishes the game strong. So the Scott Drew timeout of death is very real. It's a thing. Be on the lookout.
Even when there were valid, comments about Drew's X's and O ability, I mean that's always been one of his hallmarks is set plays either out of timeouts or even like under the basket plays with, let's say, like 14 on the shot clock. And back in the day, how many times do we throw that underneath alley-oop from like Gerald's to K-Raj or Tweety to AC?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that used to be a staple. I don't feel like we see that as much anymore, but I think maybe just because teams pack the paint, so we don't do it anymore.
Right. So that's definitely a thing. And those, I don't know, this team, we'll probably talk about ceiling here in a bit, just general outlook for the rest of the season. But man, there's so many things to like. Did you have any other like big thoughts about the last couple games and just kind of where we are now?
One guy I do want to point out, because we haven't really talked much about him.
Yeah, let's jump into players. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so let's lead off. I'm going to not lead off with a guy who's getting a ton of run, but a guy who came along later in the season and who's made, I guess, a bit more of an impact in conference than I've expected. That's Nooney Omot.
Yes.
Nooney's had a couple of really, really important games for us. I mean, he had a really nice half in that Texas game. And I'm just going to say, I don't know if we win that game last night without Nooney.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable saying that. That's so originally it was kind of expected by the fan base that he would not really play a big role, maybe play in some non-conference games and maybe if only needed, with foul trouble, maybe get minutes in conference play. But he's kind of eaten into TJ Maston's minutes a bit. He's also played the 3 and some of the perimeter positions as well. Has a nice 3-point stroke. He can put it on the floor a little bit. He plays, really good defense on the back line. I'm really impressed for his first year in the Big 12. I'm extremely impressed.
Yeah, he presents a little bit of a different element that we don't necessarily have in a guy who's that long, who has that kind of slashing ability, ability to get to hit a shot from the outside, but can also get to the rim. We seem to have guys who are either perimeter guys or underneath guys.
Right.
As much as Achul would like to be a 3-point shooter. Am I the only person that cringes when that happens?
No, but like
I'm cool. I'm cool with him taking if there's like 5 on the shot clock and he's wide open, take it. Big man can hit him.
Yeah.
It's the ones that are like early shot clock that I'm like, why?
So sure, I could do another 30 minutes on big men shooting 3-pointers, but I won't.
I guess for me it's a I don't know. And you know, his percentage isn't bad. I think he's around like a 30% shooter, but like Motley, I don't get upset when he takes that shot right now. But Achul kind of bugs me.
That's
so
fair.
Maybe that's just me.
So a player that is kind of also has not been talked about the last couple games is, and strangely so, King McClure has been sidelined with a knee injury. Some people expected him to make his return last night. He did not, or against Texas Tech, he did not. Really hoping he comes back soon because we need to give some of those guards a little bit breather, and he can stretch the floor quite a bit. I only want him to come back if he's right, though.
No, we at this point, and it, you know, we'll kind of get into future outlook, towards the end. But with as much as there is left to play for us to play for the rest of this regular season, King with a knee injury, I want that thing to be absolutely 100% healthy before I see him back on the court, because he can be. It's been inconsistent this year. He can be a guy who is that knockdown, stand in the corner, hit an open 3 when we need it guy that we just that's kind of been missing from this offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
LeConte can be that guy, but LeConte's your primary ball handler. And
in theory.
So, yeah, and I think we're trying to work some
Can we talk about that for a minute? So I was talking to the Kansas State guys over Bring On the Podcast, or Bring On the Cats,
which was quality, by the way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
it. Although I did enjoy that you guys felt the need to have a discussion about the beverage that you were drinking, as if like we've never talked about alcohol on this podcast.
Have we? I don't know. I'm actually
enjoying
the same beverage.
I got a subtle chuckle out of that.
Good. So like the thing, oh man, you totally threw me off here, dude. What was my point going to be about?
We were starting to talk about Manu, and
okay, there we go. Yes, the uncomfortable situation we have with Manu, at least in my mind, and I could totally be blowing this out of proportion. Mm-hmm. It could mean absolutely nothing. I personally, as somebody who is very familiar with not having good ball handling skills, I'm worried about the load that Manu has to carry as both the primary perimeter threat and also the primary ball handler. Like those two often don't mix. Tweety Carter was one of those rare combinations of players, and we've compared.
But even then, Tweety was never the primary outside.
You're exactly right.
We had Lace Dunn.
Exactly. No, I wasn't trying to say that, but
yeah.
So obviously, the way you'd like to use him as much as possible is open 3-pointers, right? And he just doesn't get those off the bounce as much. So we've been using Jake Lindsey as a primary ball handler quite a bit, and the reason Manu LeComte left Miami is because he was not chosen to be the starting point guard there over Angel Rodriguez. And I'm hoping things don't like boil up in the locker room. Like I hope he doesn't resent the fact that he's not handling the ball as much. I really want to see this team gel, and it's hard to gel with first year players, like with transfers and freshmen. I just want to see it work. Maybe I'm being paranoid. I don't know.
I think if this had been a problem, it would have boiled up before now.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because this isn't new. It's been happening for the last 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I think this is a new thing. He's not handling the ball either. So
True.
I think
Very
it's just
true.
something that you're seeing worked more into the mix. And Jake brings a lot to the table that I think just his style of play makes him more of a pure point guard anyway.
Yeah. Did you know he's the son of the Utah Jazz GM?
No, I would like to hear more about this.
I'd like to hear every single announcer that works one of our games to say that at least twice. So
as if to justify the spot on the roster.
Exactly, right? No, he's legitimate, our second, maybe our best guard. I don't know. I wish Jake would shoot the ball more. I really do wish Jake would shoot the ball more.
And because I think he's got, I feel like I'm starting to see him being a little bit more aggressive with his 3-point shot. I mean, he's certainly not taking it unless it's just wide open there for the taking.
But if it's even remotely contested, even remotely, it's a pump fake and then dribble to the left.
Yeah. So I think he's starting to kind of figure that out a bit. And, you know, if he can develop a consistent outside shot and he's shooting a good percentage this year.
He's shooting the best percentage on the team.
Yeah, but what's he taken? Like 15 of them?
He's taken 27.
Okay.
He's made 12. The guy you might compare him to, Manu Lecomte. Now, Manu's made 37, but he's taken 96.
Yeah, I was going to say he's down around like 35% ish.
Around in my head. Yeah, 38%, and then Jake's at almost 45%.
Yeah, and I think if I think part of the reason that Jake is starting to see more of the ball is that it's not necessarily the number of shots that Manu's able to get up. I think it's just the kind of looks that he's going to be able to get.
Yep.
And the fact that you mentioned he was being asked to be primary ball handler, primary perimeter threat. He's also being asked a lot on the defensive end, and he's delivered on the defensive end. And he's been a much better perimeter defender than what I was necessarily expecting of him coming in. There's been a lot of other aspects of his game besides the 3-point shooting that I've been incredibly impressed with that I didn't necessarily know that we were getting out of Manu Lecomte.
He's 5'10", first off, and that might be a little generous. But he's 5'10". He's not a big guard. It's not easy to play a zone like what Scott Drew runs when you're a tiny, tiny guard like that. So, yeah, been extremely impressed with what him and Al Freeman have done up top.
Yeah.
Was there anybody else that you really wanted to point out? Joe Aquil has been very nice. He's been bullied around a little bit by some of the bigger players, particularly DJ Johnson from Kansas State.
He's going to bully around a lot of guys, though.
Yeah, I mean
that dude's a truck.
Yeah, that's fine. I totally agree. Motley's been Motley-ish. I love it.
The one thing I'll say for Joe is and maybe this is just me, I do feel like he's starting to get accustomed to the style of play in the Big 12 and the fact that it is more physical. Yes. And because I felt like when conference started, he was getting pushed around. Yep. And I felt like he was trying to block everything.
Yeah, he was. He was jumping.
It would just take one little pump to get him flying in the air and he'd be out of the play. And I don't see that as much anymore. So I think and it's like you mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of guys who are playing. This is their first run through the Big 12.
Yeah.
It's with him, with Manu, with a couple of Nooney, maybe so
yep, you're exactly right.
So it's there's an adjustment there, and it's a grind in this league every single night. And so far it's there's been some things about it that you'd like to see improved upon, but hey, you're 7-1 and you've never been 7-1 in the Big 12 before. And this is as good of a Big 12 as there's been. So
also got to shout out TJ Maston. He's been, speaking of grinder, he's been a grinder.
Yeah, and he feels like a guy who a lot of times when it feels like we just really need a bucket,
mid-range,
Maston's the guy who gets that
17 feet will knock it down. So confident in that stroke. I love it.
Yeah, I think he was the guy that broke the 11-minute drought.
Yes, he absolutely was.
So, but yeah, that dude from like 15 feet and in feels like is just about automatic.
So I think that really covers players. What else did you want to chat? We have some questions here from the readers, but before we get into that, like, did you want to hop up anything?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into some of these questions because I think we got some good ones.
Do you want to go first?
I'll take this. I gotta scroll back through my Twitter timeline though. First question is from Richard at Ricardo Suave 21. Real presumptuous there, buddy.
Suave.
But
Suave.
Oh, that is Suave. Well, they don't allow for accent marks on Twitter accounts. I think that's wrong. So whatever.
Read the question.
His question is, what will Baylor's conference record be at the end of the season? I'm gonna let you start while I think about it.
So optimistically, I'll say we drop. Let's say we drop 1 to Kansas. That's being super optimistic, right? Because I think they're still legitimately good. And then let's say we drop 1 that we shouldn't to, I don't know, maybe it's a home game that we just aren't focused. So I think optimistic is 3 losses, right? And I think more realistically is 5 losses. I don't know. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but
5 is where I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, because my thought process is we're probably going to lose to Kansas.
Both times, are you predicting loss to them both times?
In Lawrence next week. I just the law of averages tells me that we're not going to win in Ames 3 years in a row. I think it would be tough to ask us to win both in Stillwater and in Lubbock. So maybe one of those two, and then a home game. I don't think we go undefeated at home. I think we get close, but I whether it's Kansas or West Virginia, I don't know. I feel like we drop a home game. So I think that's 13-5.
Yeah, that's fine. I think 14-4 wins the Big 12 though.
Do you see Kansas getting to 4?
Yeah,
because I don't know that I do.
I do.
I would need to look at their schedule. But
now, if this Jackson freshman is going to stroke it from 3 like he did the last couple games, then no, they don't get to 4. But
let's save Kansas analysis towards the end, because I have a couple things that I think Kansas is obviously going to be the favorite in that game. They have to be. They win every game at home. But there are some things that Baylor can exploit that I don't know that Kansas has an answer for. So, but if 14-4 is going to win the Big 12, then we have to be at least one of those 4, and maybe not 2 of those 4.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
All right.
So I guess it's my turn, huh?
Yeah.
So let's go with we have Grant Kawada at Grant Kawada on Twitter. What is going to be the biggest trap game and why? Is there anything is there a trap game in the Big 12? I don't think this season there's a trap game.
I think if there's a trap game, it's Saturday.
Saturday is
Ole Miss.
But Ole Miss isn't conference.
Yeah, but it's right before we play Kansas in like the biggest game of the season so far. If there's a trap game, I think that's it.
Let me postulate. Is it a trap game if you don't really care about it?
I mean, I think, it doesn't.
Of course, the guys care about it. I'm not saying
it doesn't have the implications that a conference game does,
right?
But it feels like a trap game in the sense of it's easy to overlook when you see what the next game on the schedule is, and you see that when you play Kansas, the winner of that game is all alone in first place in the conference at the halfway point.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I was trying to be not boring, but you're exactly right. The Ole Miss game is the biggest trap game. I don't think anybody takes anybody else for granted in the Big 12. There are no automatic wins. It's not even like there's a particularly bad team this year. Maybe Texas. Yeah, Texas is legitimately bad. But even they can reach.
Texas being the worst team in the conference is like in the 80s in Ken Palm.
Exactly. And so you can't really say any team is outright bad in the Big 12. So I think, I don't know. Yeah. So trap game, Ole Miss. Next question. I think
here's another one from Grant Kawada. Who wins in an eating contest, Achul or Motley? What are we eating?
I think that's really the question. Like, the standard like hot dogs in the professional eating contests, or are we eating like
that is just nasty
gut packs, or are we eating? I don't know. For some reason, it strikes me that Motley would eat more, and I don't know why. I just maybe he has a little bit more bulk on his frame. Maybe he's used to eating a little bit more.
that's
I don't know, but
that's tricky though, because Kobayashi effect.
Yeah, there's a lot more Aquil. So like, and I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like Joe could be a sneaky big eater.
I don't know that it would be sneaky because they're both probably eating what I am in weight every day.
Well, this is true. I mean, the Michael Phelps diet does give maximum results. So, like for real, the I've never seen anybody eat more than this one guy I knew in high school who was maybe like 110 pounds.
Yep. What's the most
little people can eat like none, like nobody you would ever believe.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What's the most you've ever eaten in one sitting?
Oof. Probably this is gonna be just really boring, but probably IHOP after a half marathon.
God, you are boring.
I think there was one time where I just sat down and I was like, I'll take 2 omelets and about 8 IHOP pancakes.
That's super boring. For me, it's about 14 Shipley's hot glazed donuts and about a half dozen kolaches. No, I don't know how that happened. It did happen. I was about 14. Moving on. Is Matt a hobbit? From Jared Stewart. All right, moving on. Are y'all going to send me audio to upload this time? From Peter Pope. Moving on.
Did we do that one time?
What
sure.
happened? Yeah.
I think we hired a football coach and nobody would have cared.
Yeah, so we had. I don't know. It wasn't in vain for me. You and I had a good chat for about an hour and a half.
It was
basketball.
It was quality conversation with friends.
It was quality conversation with friends,
or with friend.
And Fank, I do consider you a dear friend, and talking hoops with you is always fun. I don't know that we have any other legitimate questions.
I'm gonna throw one out here that's kind of a grab bag item. Has a lot to do with basketball. It actually doesn't. So I saw this thing on Twitter earlier tonight that apparently Tostitos is unveiling a bag that is going to double as a breathalyzer for the Super Bowl that will tell you whether or not you should be driving the car.
Stop. Rewind. Hold on. Stop. Rewind. Tostitos. They make tortilla chips of varying types and flavors.
You would be correct.
And they usually put these in plastic bags of varying sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to turn one of these bags into an electronic device.
Right. Well, you're missing my question here.
I didn't hear a question. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this real quick.
I don't know anything. I haven't read up on this. It's probably a hashtag fake news, but yeah, it's apparently like this thing has some sensors on the front of the bag that light up red if you're drunk and green if you don't.
So I typed in Tostitos to Google, and the first autocomplete was breathalyzer bag. Jeez, OP. Okay. All right. The Tostitos' new party bag knows when you've been drinking and will even call you an Uber. Hold up. This bag will call me an Uber? It's lit. Okay. Hold up. Okay.
So my question was, what would be the worst product that would double as a breathalyzer?
I have some terrible ideas, but we'll try to keep this family friendly.
This is a family podcast.
A beer bottle, probably.
Well, you hit on the obvious one. There we go.
What else? What did you have in mind?
Oh man. I really just wanted to hear what you had to say. I didn't prep anything.
A laptop computer.
Rollerblades.
Oh my God. Now I feel like I have to write something about like the worst things available from the Baylor bookstore to be a breathalyzer. Somebody take a note for me to remind me to do that.
Where did this come up in like a marketing campaign?
Bob, what do you have? We can, you know how people they drink too much and they're also eating chips. Yeah. What if we can use the bag to make them not drink too much and then drive? By God, it's amazing. That's the weirdest product combination. I literally thought you were messing with me.
No, I'm not messing with you at all. No, that's a real thing.
Jeez, oh Pete.
That's a real thing. It's like it's almost as good as the Jack in the Box commercials that just like play right into the hands of
hey, what's up, stoners?
People who've been reefing at 3 a.m.
Oh yeah, hey stoners, you're hungry. What's up? Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Before we do anything else, I do have to give a shout out to the women's basketball team. I'm sorry for those of you who don't want to hear it, but our women's team is extremely legit again this year. Number 2. Not sure how it lines up with UConn again, but of course UConn just has a super stacked roster. But Baylor women at it again.
Yeah, they good.
They very
good. Going to be very interesting to see what they're able to do once they get into the tournament. So speaking of the tournament, because I kind of like to go here before we wrap up. And well, actually, before we do that, let's talk about this Kansas game coming up next week.
This is a big week for Baylor. We mentioned the Ole Miss game, the SEC Big 12 Challenge. So we have all the Big 12 teams playing a selection of the SEC teams, and Baylor,
which is Kentucky,
of course, and Baylor drew Ole Miss, so that'll be interesting. I don't think Ole Miss is particularly good. Should be a win, but we'll see.
It's on the road, so you never take anything for granted on the road. But by the nature of the teams that we are playing, this should be the easiest game that's left on the schedule.
Right.
But we know how those usually work out. So, like I said, it is the one that sticks out to me most as one that could be a trap game, but it's a game that Baylor should win.
Exactly. But after that, we have Kansas.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. Yeah. Is that game? That game is actually in Lawrence. So the tougher of the two matchups with Kansas on the road. Number 2 Kansas, by the way.
Well, not next week.
Well, no, not next week. Currently number 2, but not when we will face them. So I don't know how to feel about this Kansas team. I still feel like, and obviously they are beatable. West Virginia did a number on them. I don't know how to feel. They have extreme talent on the perimeter, but yep. I think where Baylor is very successful counteracts that quite well.
Yeah, I think, and where I was going with this was, I think if the Bears are going to win this game, obviously I think 2 guys are going to need to play real big. I think we're going to need to see Motley at his best, because Motley at his best, I don't think Kansas has anybody that can take him.
Nope. I'm gonna need black headband Jonathan Motley.
Yeah, no, like Lucas is their only like actual true big guy, and if Motley, and in a way Achul as well are playing up to their capability, we have the advantage down low in that game. The other guy that I think is going to be really key for that game is Al Freeman.
Yeah, and we're gonna need to see the in control, very cool, calm, and collected, sexy Al Freeman.
Yeah, because I think that we just have to. Kansas's guards are incredible. Mason and Graham are fantastic. Mikhailu stepped up really big this year. This LeGerald Vick guy, I have no idea where he came from, but he plays for Kansas, therefore he's good.
Yep.
And they play at such a high level when they're at home. So it's going to be on our guards to try and, I think, match them as much as possible. I don't think our guards will outplay them, but
just neutralize.
Neutralize them, because if they're able to do that and we're able to control the paint, that's our chance to win that game.
Yes, that is correct. That is absolutely correct.
So,
I don't know how to feel. Of course, it's always unlikely to go into Lawrence and win, but hey, it's happened. Not often, but it has happened.
it hasn't happened in 3 years, but
You don't know that.
It has happened.
You can't prove that.
So,
man, so that'll be interesting. And then, we'll probably come back and chat about things before the end of the season. Like, goodness gracious, I would hope.
Oh yeah, no. We'll certainly do that. I know that the Kansas game will be a big focus next week. Also next week will be National Signing Day.
National Signing Day. I imagine the
on
Pope will get
Wednesday
back on the pod and chat about that. I know literally nothing about recruiting other than what other people tell me.
We've been doing good at it.
We've been doing many good things. Many young men have signed up to play football at Baylor University. I can accurately report that. More than expected, I think you could even say.
Oh yeah, no. Rule's going to be able to pull in a top 40 class. It looks like, and I certainly had no expectations that we were going to do that. So, but lots more to come on that front. And I'm not entirely sure what Peter has in mind for that next week, but be on the lookout because I'm sure we'll be recording something to recap that, as well as like we said, that Kansas game. And February is going to be a heavy month for basketball too. There's a lot of good games left on the schedule, and then before we know it, we'll be into
Big 12 March, man.
The Big 12 tournament and the NCAAs. And if things were to start right now, Baylor's pretty clearly a number 1 seed.
I've seen it from numerous people that both that like Baylor and both that don't like Baylor have them as a number 1 seed. We'll see how long that lasts.
Right.
I'd be extremely happy with anywhere between a 1 and 3 seed.
And I think we were talking earlier about 13-5 kind of being where we were thinking conference was going to end up. Mm-hmm. I think anything better than that, we're a 1 seed.
Sure. Yeah, because that probably means that we won the Big 12 regular season.
Yeah, and I think that, and you've seen a lot of other top teams go down this week. Villanova lost, Kansas lost, Kentucky lost, and then UCLA got beat last night. So, and Florida State losing by like 30 to Georgia Tech was random too.
Who is the best team in college basketball? Just your gut feeling, not necessarily what the rankings say. Who's the best team?
If I had to take a guess at, I'm going to take this as, who do I think, if I had to take a guess as to who wins the title, if you had to put a gun to my head right now and answer that question, I'd guess Kentucky.
Yeah, I think that would be the case as well. But
I love Malik Monk a lot.
Fun name, fun style of play. I think he's a lefty. Is he a lefty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love lefty players. So
him and Fox are really good. But if I had to guess, it'd be them. I mean, can't count out Villanova. They've got basically all the pieces back from a team that won the whole thing last year, and they've been in the top 5 all year. So they're going to be tough too. And Kansas is in the discussion. So, but there is no clear alpha dog number 1 this year.
I mean, I think it's disrespectful that
it's probably going to be Gonzaga in the rankings for the next month, but
yeah, that's probably true.
But that's who I would guess if I had to take a stab at that.
I think it's disrespectful that you left off Texas, because I think a couple breaks their way, and I think the Big 12 has really sought them out unfairly with the refereeing lately. I think if you give them the breaks that they deserve and have earned, they're very clearly the number 1
dear
team.
God, tell me this has actually been said on like radio in Austin.
I'm sure it has been. I'm positive that there have been some excuses made. Frank, it's been really, really fun. I think I'm out of material here.
Yeah, I think that's all we got for the. I hope I got my 3 listeners. So for all of you, thank you. And like I said, we'll be back on next week. Peter will be back, and I'm sure other people too. I have no idea where I'm going with this. So
how can people find you on Twitter?
They can find me by going to twitter.com, and my name is at dfank_bu, And are you also on the twitter.com?
I do frequent twitter.com at mattisbear. And then, of course, at Our Daily Podcast for that. All right, man. Have a great night. We'll get back together later on in the season to see how we've progressed. And then looking forward to that recruiting episode.
Sounds good, my man.
All right, take care.
Y'all take it easy.